This is not a story about love. It's about what people call love, when what they really mean is possession. Malik Rowe had everything. A beautiful wife, 2 kids who adored him, and a reputation in his church that made strangers feel safer just by standing near him. But behind the handshakes and Sunday smiles was a man slowly unraveling. A man who believed he was owed something more, something dangerous, something named Callista.
Welcome to LoreLogic. Stories, then diagnosis.
Malik met Soraya when they were 16, youth group. She wore a white t-shirt with sunflowers on it and carried a Bible with cracked leather binding. He said she was the most peaceful thing he'd ever seen. They married at 21, 2 kids by 27, a modest 2-story house outside St. Augustine. She taught music lessons. He worked security for a global ministry, the kind with televised sermons and stadium-sized prayer rallies. On paper, they were the American dream. He opened her car door. She made pancakes shaped like dinosaurs. They posted photos that looked like stock images. One caption read, "Blessed beyond reason." But Malik didn't feel blessed. Not really. He felt boxed in, like he'd built a life that looked good from the outside, and locked himself inside it. He started spending more time at the gym, longer hours at the office, more phone time when he got home. Soraya noticed. Of course she did. But every time she asked, he had a reason. Long shift today, can't say much, security clearance stuff. You worry too much, babe. But then came Callista. She wasn't from church. She wasn't married. She didn't ask about daycare drop-offs or marriage counseling. She asked about him, how he was feeling, what he wanted, what he dreamed about when no one else was watching. She met him at the gym. Late nights, small glances, conversations that got too personal, too fast. Within a month, he was seeing her more than he saw his own wife. He told Callista the usual lies. My marriage is basically over. She doesn't love me like she used to. It's just for the kids now. But he never told her about the kids. Not their names, not their ages, not even that they existed. To her, he was a trapped man trying to do the right thing. To Soraya, he was slowly vanishing. And Malik had a problem. He couldn't leave Soraya. Not without consequences. Not with his image. Not with his job. The ministry had a moral clause. No adultery. No divorce. No scandal. If he walked away, he'd lose everything. So he found another way. A darker way. A way to erase the past without ever having to answer for it. It started with a letter. No return address. Typed in thick black block caps. Dropped inside their mailbox sometime after dark. Soraya found it first. She was standing at the sink, rinsing dishes, humming something under her breath. When she saw the envelope, her hands went cold. She called for Malik. He took it, skimmed the words, and for a moment, he didn't say anything. Then he looked up with a practiced expression, like someone used to danger, like a protector. He said, "I'll handle it." And she believed him. The letter was simple. No names, just a demand. Tell your husband to leave the church, or your family will pay. It was vague, but it felt personal, and it set off something inside Malik, or rather, something he wanted others to see. Because what Soraya didn't know was that the man she handed the letter to, the man who said he'd protect her, had written it himself. He needed a reason to leave, to break free. But it couldn't look like weakness. It had to look like threat. He wasn't a husband planning an affair. He was a father under attack. And the letters? They were just the beginning. In the days that followed, Malik leaned into the story. He started acting anxious, double-checking the locks, peeking out windows late at night, carrying his licensed weapon from room to room. He said things like, "Something's not right. I think we're being watched. Don't worry, babe, I've got this." It worked. Soraya started sleeping with the lights on. She kept the boys inside. She called the church's private security team. The second letter came a week later, slipped under the front door, this time with a red underline beneath the word D. Soraya cried when she read it, not out of fear, but exhaustion. Something in her had begun to fray. She wasn't sleeping. She didn't eat much. She watched Malik from the corner of her eye, wondering why he didn't seem more afraid. But he was afraid. Just not of the letters. He was afraid of being found out, afraid that Soraya would see through him, afraid that Callista might start asking questions he couldn't answer. Because Callista wasn't patient forever. She wanted a future. A real one. No more sneaking around. No more nights where Malik left her bed to tuck in a child she didn't know existed. Her texts changed tones. "When are we leaving? You said this would be over by now. I'm tired of hiding." But Malik couldn't just leave. Leaving meant consequences. Divorce meant exposure. It meant admitting he had failed. So instead, he deepened the illusion. The third letter was the worst. It came 3 days before the murders. It was longer, angrier, and it ended with a single final sentence. "You were warned." By then, the church had launched a full internal investigation. Private security was reviewing Malik's cases. They believed he was being targeted for his work, exposing cults, investigating extremist threats. No one suspected him. He had built his mask too well. Soraya tried to be strong. She stayed close to the boys. She prayed more. She started journaling again, trying to make sense of the unease she couldn't name. In one entry she wrote, "Malik says he's protecting us, but sometimes it feels like he's protecting something else." She wasn't wrong. She just didn't know how right she was. March 16th, a Thursday. Nothing out of place. Soraya made chicken and rice. The boys argued over which cartoon to watch. Malik sat at the dining table, pretending to be present, pretending to laugh, pretending the next morning wouldn't end everything. They didn't know he had already cleared his search history, that he had pulled money from a secret account, that he had packed a gym bag with clean clothes, a burner phone, and her favorite perfume. Soraya kissed the boys goodnight around 8:30. Malik helped brush their teeth. He stood in the doorway of their room for a long time, watching them fall asleep. He whispered something. No one heard it. Maybe not even him. In his head, he believed what he was doing was necessary. Not evil, not cruel, just inevitable. He had told himself the story so many times. It started to feel true that this was the only way to be free, that God would understand, that Callista would forgive him, that his children would feel no pain. The house fell quiet just after 10 p.m. Malik stayed in the living room, lights off, TV on mute, scrolling through old messages from Callista. One of them said, "I wish I could fall asleep next to you." He waited for Saria's breathing to slow, waited for the kids to start snoring softly in their bunk beds, waited for the right moment to become the wrong one. 1:17 a.m. He stood up, walked to the kitchen, opened a drawer, and took out what he needed, already wiped clean. His movements were deliberate, silent, calculated. What happened next? Only he knows. But the aftermath spoke for itself. Soraya was found in her bed, no signs of struggle, no defensive wounds. The boys, still in their pajamas, still under their blankets, as if they never woke up. Let that sit. There were no signs of forced entry, no smashed windows, no broken locks, just silence and what was left behind. Malik showered, changed clothes, put his gym bag in the trunk, texted Callista, "Good morning, beautiful flan." Then he drove to a nearby gas station, bought a bottle of water, waited exactly 12 minutes, then dialed 911.
"Hi, I've been trying to reach my wife, but she's not answering. She wasn't feeling well last night. Can someone check on her?"
His voice didn't shake, not once. When police arrived, he was already waiting outside the house. He looked concerned. He answered every question. He played the role like he always did. They found the front door locked. They forced entry. The officers called out names. No response. Then, the silence cracked. They found Saria first. Then the boys. 3 bodies, 3 different rooms. One thing in common: no signs of struggle. No one had even screamed. The crime scene was too clean, too quiet, too planned. And in that stillness, Malik began his second act: the grieving husband, the devastated father, the man who had done everything he could. In the first 72 hours, Malik played the role flawlessly. He hugged church members with glassy eyes. He thanked detectives for their hard work. He told reporters he had faith God would bring justice. But there was something off, something small, something you'd only notice if you were really paying attention. Detective Harlan noticed first. He'd been on the job 23 years. He said Malik was too composed. No outbursts, no tears, just stillness, like someone who'd already made peace with it. And then there was the timeline. Malik said he left the house at 5:45 a.m. Security cameras said otherwise. His car didn't move until 7:30. They asked him about the gap. He blamed sleep, said maybe he dozed off in the car. But the story didn't hold. Meanwhile, the forensics team dug deeper, and every new clue pulled the mask down another inch. The letters, the threats, had been typed on a printer located in the church's admin building. Malik had the only keycard logged in after hours. The ink matched the pen in his home office. No fingerprints, no DNA. Too clean, too careful. That, they said, was the giveaway. You see, real threats leave a mess. They're emotional, desperate, rushed. But Malik's were methodical, planned, fake. Then came the call to Callista. Investigators found her number in Malik's phone records. She didn't answer the first time, or the second. But when they finally reached her, everything unraveled. She didn't know he was married. Not for real. He'd said they were separated, that the house was temporary, that he was only staying for the kids. But she had never seen pictures of them. He always changed the subject, or turned off his phone. When she found out what happened, she collapsed. She told police she'd had no idea, that she'd begged Malik to leave his wife, not end her. She also told them something else. He had made her a promise, said once he left the church, they'd start a new life together, somewhere warm. He'd even sent her listings, houses in Georgia, Florida, South Carolina. He had been planning escape routes, long before the murders ever happened. Malik was arrested 2 weeks later. At the gym, he didn't resist, didn't cry, didn't say a word. The headlines exploded. Security director arrested in family murder. Pastor's right-hand man staged threats, killed family. Affair behind triple homicide. Some people still couldn't believe it. Others said they always had a feeling. But no one, not even Callista, could make sense of what he'd done. During the trial, Malik showed no emotion. He sat still, listened, waited. He never took the stand, never explained why, never said his children's names. As if pretending they'd never existed was easier than admitting he was the one who made them disappear. Some murders happen in the heat of passion. This wasn't that. This was cold, staged, calculated. Malik didn't snap. He planned. He rehearsed. He removed every obstacle to the life he wanted, including the people who loved him most. So why do people like Malik do what they do? Let's break it down. Image-based narcissism. Malik's identity depended on how others saw him. The loyal husband, the strong protector, the faithful church leader. When that image cracked, he didn't adjust it. He destroyed what threatened it. Entitlement syndrome. He believed he deserved more passion, more freedom, a new life. And he believed the people in his way were optional. Moral compartmentalization. To Malik, what he did didn't cancel out who he was. He could be a killer and still think of himself as a good man. He split his morality into pieces, kept the parts he liked, discarded the ones he didn't. Simulated empathy. He knew how to look sad, knew how to sound concerned, but real empathy, that's felt, not performed. And when you can fake compassion, You can fool almost anyone. For a while, Soraya never saw it coming. Neither did the boys, because Malik didn't look like a villain. He looked like family. He told Callista he did it all for love. But the truth? He did it for himself. In the end, he destroyed his family to protect his reputation. And the woman he said he loved most, she never spoke to him again. She didn't need to, because some silence says everything.
His is LoreLogic. Stories, then diagnosis. If this story moved you, subscribe for more real-life psychological breakdowns.